error? Where could computer assisted technology make suggestions to the human? And then, where do you allow sort of the computer to work and the human to work? Really, technology is supposed to be here to serve us, to help us with safety, to help us with security, to streamline things in our lives. And so we always need to be thinking about, where do we have the human in the loop? What are the overrides? What are the fail safes? And what kind of safety nets do we need to have in place? And it feels like with some of the technology, there's such a rush to be first to market or soon to market. It feels like we're skipping over some of these important steps of safety, security, privacy, and sort of thinking about that human user story.
So where are we in the world of AI? I know there's some people who don't understand it at all, some people who just use like ChatGPT, and then there are people who are deep in the weeds, like having robots like Kim Kardashian. So can you explain kind of where we are for the people that are far advanced and how much access we actually have at the current moment?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, thankfully, between my clients and I get on the road a lot giving speeches, and it really is a mixture of what you just said. You have people who are using generative AI algorithms in sort of their everyday personal and work lives. And then you have some people who are saying, well, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and see how it all shakes out. And then you have people in the middle. What I would say is we are reaching sort of this critical point where we do need to have more substantive conversations around not just AI, but other technologies that are going to follow it. This isn't sort of the last technology innovation we're going to have. And really, I think what I've been calling for several years is in the United States, we need an individual privacy bill of rights. So no matter what technology is hot, no matter what's not, we always still sort of our individual privacy bill of rights as it relates to digital data, data collection, data tracking, data tools that we happen to use, tools that are used to help us, tools that are used to track us. And if we had that, then we would have the right guardrails in place for this technology and what comes behind it.
One of the applications of AI that is becoming, I think, most immediately important and problematic is the potential for students of all ages to cheat in terms of writing papers, anything they can do at home by having ChatGPT or whatever the system is, write it for them, write things that are of passable quality. Sometimes you can spot mistakes on them, but how it depends how aggressively these things are even read and graded if you're in some kind of large lecture hall at the college level. Maybe they only get a cursory look anyway. To my mind, I don't think this is going to be an unsolvable problem. It just means teachers got to do more in-class essays and speeches and those sorts of things, not the kinds of things you could cheat on by taking home. But how are classrooms reckoning with the reality of this technology?
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I do get the opportunity to speak with students all around the world, and I stay very close to my alma maters, University of Virginia and Immaculata University, and talking to the students and faculty. And what's interesting is the students have a very pragmatic view of this technology, and so some people may call it cheating, but really what it calls for is we need to focus our curriculum, and this is K through 12 as well as university, on critical thinking skills. Rote thinking, memorization is definitely helpful, but critical thinking is going to be key. And really, generative AI is not going to replace critical thinking. So it can mimic critical thinking, but it's not going to create like the next big idea, the next big innovation. It needs human inputs. And so I think there's a lot that needs to happen in the classrooms, K through 12 and the university setting, around what are the most important things to learn from a critical thinking perspective, what are the right things to memorize, and then where do you leverage technology in a very pragmatic way to assist with the learning process.
What is currently being done with all the data that's being collected from Americans, and how can we protect political leaders or the wrong companies or anyone from getting access to what I know has to be an intense amount of information on Americans and around the world?
I have a lot of questions about sort of the aggregation of the information, especially for US citizens. The one thing you could see where it could be incredibly helpful is having data streamlined and cleaned up and easily accessible to the departments and agencies could make the government work better on our behalf. But if we're also collecting information and we're not truly curating it. You know, a lot of people think that all of these massive databases are like carefully curated Japanese koi ponds with beautiful bonsais, and they're not. They're mostly like junkyards of data. They don't look anything like a beautiful koi pond and bonsai. And so if we're just aggregating all this junky data and putting it in databases, and now we're going to use it to make decisions, I have a lot of concerns about that. So I would love to see us streamline our data operations for the US government, for the employees of the US government, and to make things work better for US citizens. But at the same time, I have some concerns. If we aggregate that data and store it all in the same place, and we don't put the right security and privacy safeguards on it, we already know that all of our credit card data, our social security numbers, all of those have been hacked in different places over the years and are in bad people's hands. So if we start to aggregate this data on US citizens, it just makes it a huge target for nation state operatives, cyber criminal syndicates to try and get after that data. So we have to be very careful how we build the architecture and making sure that really anything sensitive, unique to us, behavioral-based analytics about each citizen is protected, safeguarded, encrypted, and stored in such a way that we assume it might get hacked, and if it does get hacked, that it's virtually unusable.
When people have, I think, the wrong impression sometimes about what it means to have their data out there or their data in the possession of foreign actors or hostile actors, you know, if the data is, you're right, credit card information, social security information, that we need to protect, encrypt, design cybersecurity policies around. Sometimes, you know, but also with use of social media, like the concern about TikTok and other things has been based on basically preferences or a profile that the social media system creates about you, which you're just contributing to when you sign up for the thing, when you click around on it, and then people get very annoyed that that data is out there when it's really just part and parcel for using the service at all. There's a kind of, I think, naive expectation of privacy to some degree as we engage with social media and AI that will be very different from, yes, necessarily establishing protection around financial information and that kind of thing.
No, you're right. I mean, if you think about it, sometimes Silicon Valley, big tech, social media platforms, they give you sort of this air of, well, you can set your account to private and you can opt into all these privacy settings. You even recall like some browsers would say like we have an incognito mode or an invisible mode. And all of those things give a false sense of, okay, I've got a terms and service agreement with this platform and I've got a private account, privacy settings. I feel like I've done everything I need to do. And I just want to share photos with my grandmom or share my travels with my friends. And you don't realize like once it's on the internet never forgets, and delete is never really delete. And so that is the thing, is this information is being collected about us. And because we don't have an individual privacy bill of rights as it relates to our digital age, we don't get to opt in and see what's being collected about us, ask for it to be deleted, ask for it not to be shared. And oh, by the way, social media platform, if you're making money off of me, maybe I want in on that action too. So if you're making 5 cents on every click I'm making because of ads, maybe I want 2 cents of that. But we don't have those guardrails and we don't have those rights explicitly spelled out for us. And it's really past time.
I have monetization turned on for X, and I get a little check every 2 weeks or so based on how well my tweets do that I really appreciate. So I think that could be the wave of the future. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and be safe out there.
I feel like people are Yokoing the wife. Maybe she deserves it. But Yoko didn't break up the Beatles.
Yes, I think it was Jill Biden. I also think it's Hunter Biden. I also think President Biden has some agency here, too. We're not saying it was Weekend at Bernie's. He was aware what was going on. No, I'm saying he wasn't. Like, he had moments where he was non-functioning, but he understood what was going on.
The finger pointing continues. Bill Maher speaking there with Jake Tapper and Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton on his show, speaking about former President Biden's cognitive decline in the latter half of his presidency. It's what Maher said next that stunned the two guests to silence. Take a listen.
A lot of it is that the Democrats they were too romanticized about the fact that he had a lot of tragedy in his life. You know, and he survived a lot of it. So every time something bad would happen, they were like, oh, he's so resilient. When they should have said, this dude is bad luck.